This I thought was interesting. This was published in Child Development. It was done by Jennifer Pfeiffer. They actually did fMRI scans on teenagers, well actually on middle schoolers, I should say, adolescents, asking them, they asked them direct self-appraisals such as, do I think I'm smart? And they also asked them reflective self-appraisals such as, do I think my friends think I'm lonely? And what they found out that the brain actually works in adolescents in both sets of questions. It functions out of the same area of the brain, whereas in adults, they also asked adults 23 to 30 the same questions. And the first questions, the direct ones, came from a different part of the brain than the second half for adults. So the point is that the adolescents were actually using the same part of their brain to think about themselves directly, but also to think about what other people thought of them. So it's kind of a scientific answer to the question of, you know, do teenagers really care what their friends think of them, and do they really take that into account when they're establishing their identity? Let's see. As adolescents become more autonomous from their parents, like the article said, they begin to depend more on their peers. Their peers are a source of support. Seltzer said that one of the reasons is that all adolescents are going through the same unique sense of identity confusion or of the frameworklessness. And so she said that peers then become the source and the raw material for making your identity as an adolescent. And how they did this is she used the term attribute substitution. And I think we all kind of know what the imitation and identification is. The idea behind attribute substitution is that adolescents try on attributes of their peers. For example, you have an average student who doesn't really like to study that much, but all of a sudden starts hanging out with, that's okay. She all of a sudden starts hanging out with a lot of other people who study, so all of a sudden she starts studying, 5-6 hours a night, where that's not necessarily who she was up until that time. Another example, you can all remember in high school you'd see somebody going through their punk rock phase, or they're, like they became Buddhists for like 3 months. They're trying on what their friends are doing.
Rapid enlightenment.
Yes, exactly. And what's interesting about this, the main thing that Seltzer emphasized was there's this Ericksonian ideal of you should just be able to go out as an adolescent and try on as many identities as you want to find your own. But unfortunately, the peer structure doesn't always allow for that. So
we were talking about earlier, responsiveness and demandingness make important contributions to success in schools as well as in the home with adolescent population. Teachers' high expectations for their students were most predictive of students' achievement and motivation to learn. In addition, negative feedback or criticism from teachers, even in combination with high expectations, was found to diminish motivation and create a poor achievement. And I pulled up a video. It's of an educator who I believe uses a perfect combination of responsiveness and demandingness. He works with adolescent students, and he's working one-on-one with students to decrease the dropout rate.
Look on page 15 on your book.
Willie Thornton.
No, this is classroom size.
Just like respect.
Who sounds like a preacher.
Could you please check on a student?
And sometimes acts like a cop.
He's not at school today.
Every morning, Thornton, who was hired to help lower the dropout rate
Just want to price you up.
at Alabama's Greenville High School, checks absences for the 70 at-risk kids in his program. If they're not there, he'll go get them.
Come on now.
19-year-old Desmond Dunklin.
I need for you to show up, okay?
A meeting, and Desmond promises to return Monday morning.
My mom won't me to graduate. Tell me I can't get a job and stuff if I don't graduate.
The day before Thornton was pursuing Desmond, he was attending a meeting with educators, business leaders, and grassroots groups brainstorming ideas to crush the high school dropout problem. The featured speaker, Alma Powell, the chairwoman of America's Promise Alliance.
Every 26 seconds, a child drops out of school.
The alliance, founded by Powell's husband, former Secretary of State Colin Powell, hopes to raise awareness and find solutions with more than 100 of these dropout summits across the country.
It is a catastrophe when you have a situation where 50% of our minority kids are not finishing high school, and where a third of all American youngsters, white, black, or otherwise, are not finishing high school.
What's keeping you up at night?
We cannot afford to let one go.
Can't give up.
You cannot give up.
Giving up is something Willie Thornton never does.
Desmond?
On Monday morning, when Desmond doesn't make the bus, Thornton goes to get him.
Morning, Desmond.
2 months later, Desmond's at graduation. It's not a diploma, it's a certificate. A real diploma requires more classes and more tests. So what good is a certificate?
The benefit is for a student to say that I can and that I've raised my self-esteem enough, because most of them have already, in their heart, have already quit. If there's hope, then there's much to be gained.
But Desmond says he's done with school. Mr. Thornton has lured him back before. Maybe, just maybe, he can do it again. Soledad O'Brien, CNN.
Electronic media. There's an increasing use of electronic media. 1/3 of all 6-year-olds in America have a television in their bedroom. Spend approximately 2 hours a day watching either videos, television, or a computer screen. Among 8 to 18-year-olds, total electronic media use in a day has reached 6 hours and 21 minutes. Here's a video. It kind of talks about different types of electronic use.
This morning on Today's Family, do you have too much technology in your life? Well, NBC's Janet Shanley is a mother of 5, and this is a subject she knows too well. Janet, good morning.
And good morning to you. Like many homes, mine is filled with computers and iPods, and even my 5-year-old's toys all seem to plug in. And we're struggling right now, as other families are, to establish some sort of technological balance.
It's one of the world's largest toy fairs,
where the latest and greatest is unveiled, and where, more than ever, electronics steal the show.
I sometimes feel that they have too much of this stuff.
Stephanie Garten has 3 children, who, by her own definition, are completely wired.
They have the Nintendo Wii, GameCube, Xbox 360, computers, they have laptops, they have desktop computers, they have iTouch, they have Nintendo DS, they have iHome, iPods, and my son has a phone.
All 3 are often holed up in their media centers, otherwise known as their bedrooms.
I play games on my computer, listen to music on my iPod, chat with my friends on my computer a lot.
When I go into the car and I see that each of them are holding something, there's no reason for them to isolate themselves and tune themselves out for 20 minutes on a car ride. We could talk to each other.
The key is make sure that the technology adds to the whole experience and doesn't become the experience.
Stephanie Oppenheim has reviewed thousands of toys over 2 decades, but never before seen what's on the market now. Electronics for 2-year-olds.
For very young children, less tech is probably better. Kids don't need to be playing computer games much before the age of 3.
Back in the Garten home, homework comes first, but even limited tech time has a cost.
What would you do if you didn't have your computer, your iPod, or your game system?
I'd definitely be going outside a little more. So.
It's very telling. That little girl would be outside more, but she has all these electronics inside. Experts say parents should practice what they preach. That's a problem in our home. My children see me on my BlackBerry and computer, and it's hard to get them to disconnect when their mommy rarely does.
I know I have this new rule in my life that I don't BlackBerry in front of them unless they actually are involved in something.
You know, I think it's funny that they're like, oh, they have so much. Well, who's buying it?
Good question.
Alright, there's also a video and some studies about new programs coming out for the iPods.